Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As we promised you with the Net Worth Nation, back once again, our special guest, Miss Tanisha Burke from Lux Platinum Enterprises. Guys, I know you remember Miss Burke did a very interesting, wonderful podcast on the Women's Month not long ago. How long ago is that been? Man, I'll tell you, time is just flying. But we had a very dynamic time. We hope you guys, as we saw from the views, you guys looked like you were very blessed by that, and we thought it was long overdue for us to get back together again. We got a real good one for you guys today. Stay with us. We're going to kind of unpack some bags. I think this one will really, really get you guys where you want to be. I've been hearing a lot of the requests out there, so we want to make sure that we continue to bring you the content that you guys have so much needed and asked for. Miss Burke, how you been doing? Floor is yours.
Ron, I am doing amazing. So excited. And I agree with you that our last podcast together was dynamic. And you're right. It's long overdue. And there's just so many topics that we need to that we can share with the people. And the one that you picked for today is phenomenal. And it's so needed. I think the timing is right on point, and it's a very responsible discussion for us to have. And it's going to bless the people today.
Sure, sure, guys. We're going to dive right in. We really thought about just our history together in general. And so when we talk about this topic, the top 5 reasons why our W 2 friends out there never start their business, we had to really kind of go back, right, T, and kind of dive into, I think, where it all starts. So I'm going to go and rip the band-aid off. We got to talk about the elephant in the room. And I think it all starts from our education system, right?
Yes.
Where it all starts, the very first introduction that I have to knowledge is in a classroom that's, you know how it is, right? We went to school in the 80s and the 90s. It's that person sitting up in the front of the room, and you're coming into this structured environment, and your breaks and your lunch breaks and everything is so structured for the W2 world that I think most of the problem starts in that phase in the early years of our education. I think that's where a lot of these problems lie. What would you say to that?
That is 100% fact. And if you go back further than that, the education system was really started by the Rockefeller family, right? Because
Fact.
they wanted to train people to work for their companies, in their companies as employees. And so, they are the ones who designed the education system that we all participate in today. And it is designed for people to work a job, not for entrepreneurships. And if you think about the environment that's created in the classrooms, it's not really designed for you to be creative, right? Those creative people who have that, oh, I got a great idea. No, 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 no. It's we following this lesson plan that's in this book, and we ain't gonna deviate from this. And we're expecting you to pass the test based on what I'm teaching you here. There's
That's right.
no room for anything extra. And it even goes back further when we go into kindergarten, right? So
Mm.
if we think about kindergarten, right? And I know they asked you this in kindergarten because they asked me, and to my knowledge, they still ask this of the kindergartners. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Yes.
Right? What do you want to be when you grow up? They never ask you what type of lifestyle do you want to live. If they were
Mm.
to ask you what type of lifestyle you would want to live, you would go immediately into entrepreneurship because it would provide you the lifestyle where you could have time freedom, personal freedom, financial freedom. But
Mm.
instead they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? So that forces the kids to say, oh, I want to be a teacher like you, or I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a it's all job related.
Right in that box. Absolutely. It's powerful that you say that. When you go out there and you look at the top notch speakers, the Tony Robinsons, the Robert Kiyosaki's, the Les Browns, the Ayana Van Zants, the rooms are full of people in our age group. And so I used to ask that question, like, where's the kids at? The kids are not there. It's people like you and I, and it seems like we have to do a lot of unlearning of what you just said. And I think sometimes you have to have courage to even get to that point, right? You have to know when something hasn't been working, and you have to have the courage to do something about it. That's why I really, really enjoy what you do in your company and the job you've done over the last decade, actually, really reaching out to people that probably didn't think that they could do it or didn't think they had it in them to do it. And so, how do we get there, right? I mean, I know I just mentioned some names, but what are some of the things that you do to help people that recognize, like you said, that 9 to 5 is just not happening?
Absolutely. And you mentioned something key. You said people have to have the courage to want to do something different or to recognize that what they're doing isn't working. And I would say, even before the courage, I think the bigger problem is people have to change their circle.
Mm,
Because, think about, I grew up in a single family household, right? It was just my mom. And, if I had only kept myself in that bubble of the small town that I lived in,
mm,
and didn't really venture out to meet people, other people, I would
mm,
never have known. I recently um, enrolled into my business, the first person that truly introduced me to entrepreneurship. I remember growing up in Port Chester, New York, and my brother introduced me to this young woman named Lisa Anderson, and she had a nail shop. And
mm.
she's a Black woman, and she owned a nail shop. I think it was called For Your Nails Only, right on Westchester Avenue. And Lisa was also in Mary Kay. And I always admired her. I'm like, oh, she's beautiful. She has her own business. I had never seen someone who looked like me who was a business owner. And so she introduced me to Mary Kay, and I got started in Mary Kay. And that was where I fell in love with entrepreneurship. I love the idea that I could make as much money as I want and I could choose who I want to work with. Even though Mary Kay ended up not being the right company for me to be with, that was my introduction in my first entrepreneurship role, and it was because I was exposed to Lisa. Had my brother not introduced me to her, I would have never saw that there was someone like me who could own a business, because where I grew up, all the Italians owned all the businesses,
Mm,
right? And the
mm,
rest of us just worked for them. But I didn't see anybody in my town who actually owned a business in entrepreneurship. So I think it comes first to being exposed. We have to surround ourselves with the people who are more successful than us, making more money than us, that are smarter than us, so that we can glean and learn from them and see that, oh, there is another way. There is
facts.
another way. The other thing is, if I could talk about, I'm gonna talk about our people that I come across. We so darn skeptical.
Mm,
And honestly, you cannot afford to be skeptical and broke. So
mm.
we got to change that. First of all, a lot of times this knowledge is free information. And sometimes, people are just so skeptical. They're like, I don't even want the information. Like, why do you want to stay ignorant? Like that, you should not do that. People pay thousands of dollars to listen to a Tony Robinson. People pay
Yes.
thousands of dollars to go and sit in a seminar with Robert Kiyosaki. And it's like, what you got to think about, why are they finding it? What is it about him that they're willing to pay $1,000 to go sit in, a 60-minute, 30-minute, whatever seminar? And if you look in the audience, you don't see a whole lot of us. Why? Because
Mm,
we don't see the value in getting the information.
mm, mm, mm. Now that's powerful. And I'm going to walk through that open door that you said something very powerful. I mean, let's think about the generation we came up in, and the my grandmother, World War II mom, first generation, really working in a corporate setting, worked for the state, did her 30 years. Her daughter, my mom, first to kind of to go to college, get that education, working downtown Fifth Avenue. And so, here you and I come along, and then when we start to come up, we see all of a sudden these corporations being broken down, the phone company where you and I actually met was broken down into small particles by Ronald Reagan. And so all of the trust that our grandparents and parents had was being removed, right? Because now all
Right.
of a sudden these companies are going overseas, they're downsizing,
Mhm.
the steel mill in Baltimore and all that stuff. So my point is, you're right in that why can't we see these things, which we do, and like you said, do something about it, which obviously you and I have done. Uh, and why don't we look at each other and say, well, if she can do it or he can do it, he looks like me, sounds like me, then I can do it too, right? And you would think that that's what people would do. And I hope to say that it's not what most people try to say, that, people don't want to see you do well or succeed. But I don't know, maybe it's something to that where someone sees you maybe leaving them in the dust. I don't know. I hope not,
I
right?
think there's a little bit. I think there's a little bit of that, and but I think okay. So most of it, I think, is just lack of knowledge,
Mm,
right? Because again, they're not getting the information to know that there is better. Lack of exposure, because again, if like I said, change your circle, change your life. And then I think the other part of that is fear, false
mm,
evidence appearing real. I remember when I was thinking of entrepreneurship, it scared me because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I'm an alpha female. I like to be in control, Ron. Like, and so not knowing and being outside of my comfort zone was extremely scary. And if I would have had someone, and I think that's what, why I felt comfortable partnering with Lisa and Mary Kay, because she was my coach there. And then it was her coach above her who would say, okay, we're going to do this with you. Let us show you how to do this. This is how you do a home party. These are the things you need to have. I felt
mm.
like I had a roadmap. And to be honest, that is why I stick with network marketing as opposed to a traditional business, because I don't have to recreate the wheel. I don't have to come up with the marketing. I don't have to come up with the training. I don't have to create the product and go back and forth. What is this product right? No, everything you need is laid out. And I think that's why so many more people now are open to go into the industry of network marketing, because it removes the fear of the unknown of, oh, I got to do this by myself. I got to figure it out. No, there's a proven success system. You plug yourself into it and then you just run with it from there. But when it comes to a traditional business, you don't have that safety net, right? According to the government, when you start a brick and mortar, you don't make a profit for the first 3 to 5 years. So now you got to, like, where do I get this funding? Right? How do I get this funding? Do I use my own money? And then, unless you're around other traditional business owners and you realize they don't use their own money to start their businesses,
Facts.
right? Shocker. When the rest of us who don't know that, we don't know how to go get the funding, what do? We feel like we got to use our own money.
Mm, 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 mm. You really, that was my third point. One of the top five reasons, which you pretty much securely answered, is that what do you say to that person? Where do I start? What do I do? I don't know enough. I know some things. I got a little money. I don't have a lot. And so I like what you said. Why reinvent the wheel when there's plenty of wheels out there for you to jump on and ride? And I like that. And I think, um, to me, that really eliminates a lot of the fear excuses, right? I think so,
It
right?
does.
Because that's the whole thing, walking down that block by yourself versus walking down that block with 5 or 6 or 10 people, that are walking with me to take that off.
Yes.
Another thing I think I wanted to touch on, and another thing you hear a lot of people say, "Man, I should have done that sooner." Or,
Oh,
"Oh man, if you'd have came to me back in 2020 or 2018, man, it would have been perfect then." What do you say to people that give you that kind of play? How do you
it's
look at
never
that?
too late. It's never too late, With technology, Ron, we're all living a lot longer.
We are absolutely.
So if you're 70, right, and you've been working your job and maybe you retired, but of course now you can't live off of what you were, the 40% that you used to live 100% on. And according to, medicine now, they can keep you alive till you're 90.
Yeah.
You got 20 years. Do something with
Do
that
something.
20 years,
Yeah.
right? Become an entrepreneur, start your business at 70 if that's what it takes. Again, in my industry, you got people that are going to help you. There's low investment, so even you on a fixed income can afford to start a business. And guess what? If you partner with the right company, like with my company, we have a legacy program. You get to will your income to whomever you designate. So, and I feel honestly, Ron, I feel you and I, right? The Gen Xers, shout out to the Gen Xers out there, right? We are all where we are, including the baby boomers, based on the decisions that we have made, good, bad, and indifferent. So really anything that we do now, it's really for the next generation. It's for our kids, it's for our grandkids. It ain't really for us. So, and so we have to go back and think, Ron, if your mom, my mom, had the opportunity to start a business that could become so successful where you and I didn't have to work a job ever in our life unless we choose to, like the Hiltons and the Marriotts, anybody with that last name,
Hmm.
wouldn't we have wanted our parents to go for it
Absolutely.
at whatever age? So now we are our parents. What are
Hmm.
we doing to prepare for the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren and the great 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 grandchildren that we will never? We have to focus on building generational wealth, period. That's the name of the game right now. It's not a job, it's not a 401k, it's generational wealth, right? Rich people plan year to year, but wealthy people plan decade to decade. That's generational wealth. And that's what we have to do. And the information is out there. The
It is.
information is free. You could just pick up a book. You could pick up a book, but go to these networking events. I would encourage people to go to networking events. You could be on Facebook and look up events. And if you see some type of networking entrepreneur, go.
Go.
Go meet some people, go listen to what they say, take some notes. Note takers are money makers. You're going to learn something, you're going to meet somebody, and you're going to find what's right for you. Not everything is for everybody, but you'll find out some information that can help you. No one's keeping the information from you. You're just preventing yourself from being in the environment to receive some information that can help you. You're not going to get this information watching Netflix and chilling on a Friday night.
It's amazing. I listened to one guy said he is so sick and tired of watching other people's lives
Make money.
work and being rich. And he's sitting there watching it, and he's broke and can't even pay the light bill that the electricity is, putting the Netflix
Right.
on. And I thought something you said, change your circle, change your life. I think um, it took me a while to get that too, understanding because, there's a certain thing like, loyalty and brand loyalty, and I struggle with that. I came up, obviously, with a single mom like you. So it was very important for me to be very strategic with my friendships and alliances in the streets. And, you had to kind of have that kind of gang-like mentality to survive. And when the generation of New York that I came up in the '80s was really really rough. And I don't say that as a badge of honor. It's really unfortunate that you have to live that way. And so I
Mhm.
think you and I recognized that we didn't want our children, right, to have to decide, oh man, can I go down this street or that street? Or, am I going to get home today in one piece?
Mhm.
So we did a lot of things that I think sets the table for what you said about the generations and thinking about the kids that you didn't even have yet, right? And so, what do you say to these young people, that say, maybe that's not for me, or I'm only in my early 20s? How do you speak to that audience as well?
Absolutely. So there's a book called The Top 10 Distinctions Between Millionaires and the Middle Class by Keith Cameron Smith. And in that book, he teaches that poor people plan day to day, right? So if you think about homeless people, right, they're just focusing on, I need to eat today. I can't even think about tomorrow until I can make it through tonight. Middle class people plan month to month. And if you think about the average middle class person, they get two checks a month. So they know what they can do this month. And then they worry about next month when next month's money comes in, right? But again, rich people plan year to year and wealthy people plan decade to decade. So if you're tired of living check to check, right, month to month with that middle class mindset, then you have to change your mindset to a rich or wealthy mindset where you're planning year to year, decade to decade. And so, in order to do that, Ron, I always teach people. I speak to a lot. I do a lot of coaching with my team members and prospects that are thinking about starting the business with me. But I teach them that we all have to look at our life like a GPS system. And so, Ron, when you get in your car, Ron, and you're going to a brand new destination, you start up your ride, right? The GPS comes on. What's the very first thing the GPS wants to know from you?
Where are you located, right? Where are you at?
Well, it already knows where you are, but where does it want? What does it need in order to give you what you're looking
Where
for?
are you going? Where do you want to go?
That's it. Where you want to go? You can't even put it in drive until it gives you the turn by turn. But guess what? It can't give you the turn by turn until it knows your destination of where you want to go to. And guess
Mhm.
what? That's our lives. Our lives work the same way. And, you know, most people don't ever achieve what they want in life because they can't even communicate it to themselves what they want in life. I ask people all the time, well, how much money would you like to make on a monthly basis? And they say, I don't know. And I'm like, how do you not know? You got bills that come in every single month and you can't even give me a number based on just that? That's a problem,
Yes.
right? You don't know where you want to be. Listen, if you don't know how much money you want to make, you're already making it. If you
Mm.
don't know where you want to be 5 years from now, you're already there. Nothing's going to change for you. And so we all have to start. And I was just before I got on this podcast, I was speaking to a prospect and I said, if you don't get anything else from this conversation, just know that if you can clearly visualize where you want to be 5 years from now, it got to be crystal clear. It can't be, oh, I want to make a lot of money. Well, what's a lot of money? That's not a number, right? It can't. You can't say, oh, I just want to be comfortable. Well, what's comfortable? $100 a week to a homeless person is comfortable, right? So you got to be real specific, right, about what you want 5 years from now, and then every single thing that comes across your desk, you make a decision. You have to look at it and say, if I say yes to this investment, this job, this business opportunity, this relationship, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Is it going to get me closer to where I want to be 5 years from now? Does this play into my 5 year goal? And if the answer is no, then you just don't do it. And so if you make all your decisions based on where you want to be 5 years from now, you'll always make the right decisions. You'll never live with regrets because you're always going to be in pursuit of your goals.
I love
So
it.
that's what I would say to those 20-year-olds. Where do you, okay, that's great. You're here now in 2023, right? But where do you want to be in 2028? Let's talk
Mm.
about that. What does that look like? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live? You could drive the dream car. What type of lifestyle you want to live? Let's plan that. And then now you'll know what to do here, as well as more importantly, what not to do.
Mm. I love it. I love it. I'm going to wrap up with this last one because this one is a good one. And I'm sure you've heard of a ton of people that, working pretty decent jobs. Don't get it twisted. I know a lot of people out there that's doing pretty good for themselves. And they'll say, well, I wanted to do and wanted to start a business, but, I'm okay. I want to say this, and I know we say a lot of people say they're okay, but there's a lot of those same people that get very upset on the 15th of the month when they look at the taxes. The taxes don't come back the way they thought they would, and then they're frustrated because yes, they are doing pretty well for themselves. They are making great money, but unfortunately, they're not seeing what they think they should. How would you speak to somebody like that, Miss T?
I would say, why settle for well when wealthy is available? That's
Mm,
a choice. It's a choice. People can choose to stay where they are, but again, Ron, it goes back to changing your circle. You don't know that there's more, that there's another level, there's another door, right? Until you are around people who have access to that. And so what I tell people is you have to surround yourself with people that are living the lifestyle you desire to live,
Facts.
so that you can be exposed to what comes along with that. And then you get to learn the types of decisions. Wealthy people just think differently. They think differently. A lot of times, people are just stuck on that microwave. I want it right now, right?
Oh,
I want it right now, right? We got the Amazon Prime, right? We're going to pay extra for Prime because we want it tomorrow, right? We don't want to wait. It's that type of mentality. But when you're planning for generational wealth, again, you have to be thinking 10 years from now. And so when you start businesses, it's one of those things where you might forget the work, but the work won't forget you.
mm,
You work like a dog now so that you don't get treated like one later.
mm.
And the people who don't have that mentality right now are being treated like a dog. They're in their 70s and they're doing physical labor that they should not be doing, right?
That's powerful.
Seriously. Work like a dog now so you don't have to be treated like one later. That's what it's about. You got to make those deposits before you can make the withdrawals. And
Mm,
I want to say this with the millennials and the Generation Z. And I owe y'all an apology if you fall in that group, because I used to think y'all were lazy, right?
mm,
And just wanted everything handed to you right now. But Ron, after speaking to a lot of them, what I realized is they just don't want to subscribe to what we and our parents did, which is that 40-40-40 club, right? Work 40 hours a week for 40 years to retire on 40% of what we used to live 100% on. They realize, like, I'm not trying to do that. I don't want to sit in an hour worth of traffic and be stuck at somebody's desk. And they're
Yes.
like, nah, there has to be a better way. And
Yes.
so those generations, millennials and Gen Z, are so much more open to looking at entrepreneurship as a way to earn extra income. And they also realize, millennials, unfortunately, it took them a while. They missed the boat, but Gen Z got it. Millennials realized that the whole get a degree is a lie. Like
Mm,
that whole thing they were sold on was a lie. They were sold a nightmare. And they're now realizing it now that they have these masters and these student loans and can't find a job to pay it off. I hear it all on TikTok. They complaining on TikTok left and right about this degree, this master, and they can't, and they're working at Starbucks. Like they're like, Gen Z, they got it. They're like, nah, let me look at entrepreneurship. So they are so much more open to looking at business opportunities and ways to make money than our generation is now. Our generation, we still skeptical, the ones that haven't jumped in yet. We still broke and skeptical. I told y'all can't afford to be broke and skeptical. Follow the Gen Z. The Gen Zs get it. They're like, hey, technology is helping us to work smarter, not harder. I could turn my phone into an ATM. Like, who got the opportunity that can help me work in Thailand and make money? Like, that's where I want to be.
mm.
So it really comes down to that. Can't be broken skeptical. Keep your options open. Always position yourself around other people. Get the information. It's free. It's out there. And don't be afraid to jump. Like I said, don't settle for when wealthy is available. And wealthy is available. Even at 70. Even
Is
at 70.
wow. That's those are so many valuable nuggets. That was one of the reasons why I was so super excited when I found out we were doing this podcast. How can our audience out there, Network Nation Land, keep in touch with you? When do you do your Power podcast and you speak to your people? How can they keep up with what you got going on out there in the world?
Absolutely. Well, you can reach me at www.luxplatinumenterprises.com. You can email me at tanisha@tanishaburke.com. And, we could put in the comments, I do a weekly presentation every Tuesday for my business opportunity, for anybody who wants to position themselves on the money making side of the travel industry. Speaking of travel, Ron, I'm on a cruise tomorrow. So you got to pray that this Hurricane Beryl, whatever her name is, that she stay far away from me, because I want to enjoy this family cruise.
With the prayers up, everyone out there in Net Worth Nation land for Miss Tanisha Burke. Listen, guys, please don't let this video go over your head. Play it again, replay it again, get the nuggets out of it, because what we've learned, and Tanisha can speak to it, which she's already has, is that there's no better time to start change than right now, today. Right? Today, this minute, this second, go out there, take the information, and execute on it. Okay, guys? Ron G, aka Your Console, the Net Worth Nation. Once again, guys, we appreciate you being with us today. Peace. We're out of here.